Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the digestive system. The digestive system is a series of complex organs that sieve and transfer the important nutrients the body requires from the food and drink that the body intakes and then discards of the waste. The digestive system is composed of the mouth, esophagus, stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, small intestine, appendix, large intestine, rectum and anus. The process begins at the mouth where the teeth break down the food into smaller portions. The food is then further broken down by the salivary glands, releasing saliva into the mouth. The enzyme amylase that is found inside saliva then breaks down the carbohydrates found in the food into smaller molecules known as disaccharides. This then produces a substance called bolus that is then able to pass down the esophagus. The esophagus, after the food has been broken down into the bolus, it then travels down the esophagus to the stomach. It does this by being pushed down by rhythmic muscle contractions in the esophagus known as peristalsis. These muscle contractions are powerful enough to allow the bolus to travel to the stomach even when the person is upside down, and also for astronauts in space. The esophagus is coated in a mucus to help the bolus slide through to the stomach. So the esophagus comes down here into the stomach. After the food has travelled down the esophagus, it arrives at the stomach. The stomach is a large organ filled with a potent acid called gastric acid that then breaks down the protein in the food to make peptides that then are broken down to make peptides and amino acids. The substance produced by this is called chyme. It breaks down the food by churning the food as it enters the stomach. The food is then dissolved by the gastric acid. What is left is then flushed out. So attached to the stomach we have the liver and gallbladder. The liver's job is to rid the body of toxins and poisons that can be not used by the body, for example alcohol and other poisons that may be found in food. It also is a generator of the bile that is then housed inside the gallbladder. The gallbladder is a small sac held below the liver that holds the bile for the small intestine. When the digestive system is functioning properly, the gallbladder's job is to release bile into the small intestine to help break down the food further. Below the gallbladder we have, or just to the right of the gallbladder, we have the pancreas. The pancreas is designed to hold hormones that are circulated in the bloodstream, including insulin, glycogen, and somatization. The pancreas is also responsible in the digestive system and is designed to release digestive enzymes into the small intestine to help break down the food further and allow the nutrients to be absorbed quicker and easier. So we move to the small intestine, which is a long, thin, winding tube that food goes through after it leaves the stomach. After being released from the stomach, the food then travels down to the duodenum, which is the upper small intestine. The food is joined by the bile generated by the liver and held in the gallbladder and the pancreatic juices that then begin working on breaking down and digesting the fat that is still in the remains of the food. This is then absorbed by the lining of the small intestine into the blood by the process of diffusion. There are small hairs covering the small intestine called villi that are there to increase the surface area of the small intestine so that diffusion is much more successful. The food then goes through the jejunum, which is the middle small intestine, and then it goes through the final areas of the small intestine called the ileum, which is the lower part of the small intestine. The small intestine then moves into the large intestine, but beforehand we have got the appendix. The appendix is a small sac located near the start of the large intestines, and it sits between the two intestines, large and small. It's a thin tube of approximately 4 inches long and sits below the right lower abdomen. The function is to act as a store for food, bacteria after illnesses. There is a surgery which can remove the appendix, as it is seen as not a very important part to the overall function of the digestive system. You can get appendicitis, which is where the appendix comes inflamed and infected, which can cause it to rupture. Another major illness is carcinoid tumours, which are a periodic flushing, and these are very rare and can sometimes result to cancer, which is why it can be removed. So then we move into the large intestine, also known as the colon, which is responsible for the water and electrolytes which are taken out from the remaining food and are absorbed. Many microbacteria such as bactericides, lactobacillus, acidophilus, Escherichia coli and Klebsiella in the large intestine help the digestion process run smoother and break down the remaining food into smaller chunks. The food then travels around the large intestine to the rectum, the final stage. So over we come to the rectum. After being this is the concluding part of the large intestines and terminates at the anus. Its length is approximately 10 to 12 centimetres. Its key role is to act as a temporary store for the faeces. The rectal walls expand and stretch to stimulate the urge to dispose of the waste. If the process is delayed, this can result in constipation. When it's full, this can cause the walls of the rectum to pull apart. This can cause the faeces to enter the canal. So after the rectum, we finally end at the anus, which is the opening end of the digestive system from which the faeces exit the body. So that is the digestive system. Thank you very much.